Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. I'm Sean, and today I'll be going through my weekly new comic book day pull. Pretty good pull this week. I'm very excited about some of them. First, the beer. So I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I was in Chicago, hit up a Binny's Beverage Depot right after they got their holiday drop from Goose Island. So this is the last of the three that I picked up. I had the Goose and Bull, the Winter IPA, and this was probably my favorite. This is the Black Hawk's Pale Ale. So I've already killed an entire 12 pack of this, not today, but since, in the weeks since I stopped in at Benny's and picked it up. So I've been saving this one for this episode. Cheers. Real easygoing pale ale. I still prefer Sierra Nevada pale ale as far as pale ales go, but this is good. And I guess it's limited edition. I'm not entirely sure. So, but yeah, do that one more time. Okay, so the comics. This one was a last minute. I was looking through League of Comic Geeks, and this is a number one. It's one of three. My shop, Rick's Comic City, had one issue of this, so I'm going to put it on my poll. I wanted to try it first, but this is Andrew Kronk's. Apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. Cronky Bloodrik. I like the way the title is in black metal font, and then there's in parentheses actually, so you can read it. Very cool. That kind of drew my eye. And I've had a thing. I'm not really like a sword and sandal guy, although there are I really like the old Cull comic books, which were kind of, I guess it was another Robert E. Howard character, I believe, and I'll read those from time to time. Some of the Robert E. Howard Conan stuff, obviously the movies I grew up with, the Conan movies. So I started watching the show. The guys at Rick's recommended the show Primal. That's on, I guess it's Cartoon Network, but so I'm watching it on Max. And it's about a caveman and a dinosaur that lose their families and end up teaming up and being buddies. And it's like the best. It's just the best show. It's unbelievable. All the feels. And so I guess it's got me in the mood for this because I'm also now watching the Masters of the Universe, the Kevin Smith one, which previously my girlfriend and I had watched the first five and not seen the second five. So we're on that. And it's just a lot of barbarian stuff right now. So this jumped out at me, but also because on Leah Comic Geeks, I saw somebody's comment on this number one for Bloodrik that they had read it when it was a self-published ash can a couple of years ago and really liked it. And I love that progression, right? That success story of like we self-published this and now Image or whoever is distributing it. So I thought that was really cool. And to that point, in one page on the inside front cover, Andrew tells the story of the book. He says, "Hello, my name is Andrew and I created Bloodrik. I just want to give you a little backstory on what it takes to get this book into your hands. I drew the first sketch of Bloodrik in 2009 and really liked how it came out. In no way am I diminishing that story. That was probably my favorite part of the book, although I love the book. I love this number one. I'm going to put it on my pull at Rick's for all three issues, and I hope there's more after that. Really like this. If you're a fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, I think you'll dig this. It's a simple story. It's just a barbarian looking for food in a snowy terrain, and it's just really cool. I really enjoyed it. Bloodrik, number one. Highly recommended. My favorite book of the week by far, Bloodrik. Second, Stuff of Nightmares Sleigh Ride. Loved it. My horror podcast, The Horror Vision, we just put up an episode a week or so ago. It's like deep dive holiday horror. Holiday horror is not my genre. Everybody else on The Horror Vision is way more into it than me. There are classics that I love, like Krampus, the original Black Christmas. But a lot of the Killer Santa stuff, I just don't give a shit about. I don't love it. This is a Killer Santa book. I loved it. It was really fun. I really like this book. I love the art. Francisco Sagala and P.S. Bach. It was great. It's a mall Santa who gets canned and just goes nuts, goes, on a killing spree. Really cool. Stuff of Nightmares Sleigh Ride. Daniel Warren Johnson, speaking of, Transformers number 3, Soundwave there on the cover. Good issue. I'm still digging this book quite a bit. It's interesting seeing the Witwickies, Spike and his father kind of updated for 2023. We're still just dealing with Gen 1 characters, which is fine. So some people, I saw mixed results too. In the first issue, there was a Optimus body slammed. I think it was Starscream or whatever the wrestling move is. But Daniel Warren Johnson, obviously, have to do a power bomb, like he's a wrestling fan, so some of that stuff sneaks in. In this issue, it's not a wrestling move, although there is one. But there is a segment with Optimus fighting Skywarp that just was fantastic. I feel like people will be talking about it. So yeah, this book, it's off to a good start. Issue number 3. Blood Commandment number 2. Simon Kurdansky. So these are now coming with an imprint. So it's Image, but he has an imprint now called One Man Art Comics. And Chris Saunders and I talked about the first issue on the most recent A Most Horrible Library, which is a podcast I do with Chris where we cover horror literature, horror comics, whatever. This is almost entirely Simon Kurdansky, and I loved the first issue, and I loved this issue even more. And so far, it's a vampire story. It's not reinventing the wheel, but I like it. It's a father and son. The father obviously is a vampire, was married to a mortal woman who passed away. The son must have some kind of vampire tendencies in his blood. They're living in a valley in the middle of the woods somewhere in the south, so that the sun doesn't really bother them, and the kid doesn't know any of this, right? He's being raised in a very sheltered environment because of what he is and whatnot. And another monster comes looking for the father, somebody from his past. Really cool book. The art in this is it's just gorgeous. So Blood Commandment number 2, there's going to be 4 of these, and I hope after that there'll be a lot more. And then we've got Duggan and Casara's X-Men 29. This is still Fall of X, but this X book remains fairly apart from that. So in other words, like where Immortal and X-Men Red are really dealing with what's going on after the Hellfire Gala massacre, this is still more team-oriented, and it's in this particular issue. So Ms. Marvel is now a mutant, I guess always was, and her and Shadowcat in her ninja garb meet up with Logan, and they go to Latveria to find these mutants that they've detected. And it turns out that Doom, from the very beginning of the Krakoa era, they give us a flashback from right before Chuck goes into the entire world's mind and tells them about Krakoa and how it's going to be. Doom reaches out to him and basically says, this is going to fail, and when it does, don't come looking to me. I have my own mutants. So they go to find these mutants. It was a good story. I dug it. I was a little bit skeptical going in. At this point, whenever they introduce new mutants that we've never seen before, I'm always a little bit like, especially if they've been around, supposedly been around for a long time, I'm always a little bit like, okay. But no, this was good. And it's a one-issue battle that the outcome makes perfect sense, and it's very Doom. So need I say more? If you like Doctor Doom and you like the X-Men, I think you'll dig this. And that was my pull for the week, really. Be back soon with another episode, but until then, cheers. Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20 soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive.
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadowplay in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.